Hello and welcome back to Smart Profit AI. Today we have joining us Zoe Price, the CEO and owner of Résumé Pilots, a premium service that has evolved from resume writing into full spectrum career strategy and coaching. Zoe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Zoe, your journey is incredible. You went from an entry-level minimum wage job after a career break to a six-figure salary, and then you made the leap to business ownership. Can you briefly walk us through that journey and how Résumé Pilots evolved from a simple resume service to a comprehensive coaching and strategy business it is today?
Yes, so I took a break when the children were born. And when I got back, having had a successful career in financial services, I came back and found all my qualifications were out of date, my experience was out of date, license had expired, and I had to do something. And so I just found a temp role, really, which was literally minimum wage. But through that, I created opportunities and always being on the lookout for opportunities, always know where I can add value in each role. I networked very extensively, internally and externally, and really focused on personal development, learning, reading books, going on courses, going to conferences, and I pushed myself relentlessly. It might not have felt like I had pushed myself relentlessly at the time, but when I look back on it, certainly that's how that was really what I did. After a while of doing all of that and finding different opportunities, I then decided to take the plunge and go day rate contracting. So by this time, I was in the public sector anyway. I was running projects and programs of multi-million pounds, but I thought if I go contracting, it's a great way for me to speed up both my learning and my earning, as well as building this great network. So I went contracting for a while and across lots of different public sector platforms, but it was just never really right. It was never enough. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And that was when I looked into businesses, having my own business. But I just knew that the startup phase wasn't for me. I just didn't want to get involved in that grassroots startup phase. So I discovered buying businesses, or buying established cash producing, almost recession-proof businesses. So initially, I was going to buy something like a car garage or skip hire or waste management, something like that. But completely out of left field, I bought CV Pilots and Résumé Pilots. But actually, given my career journey, it really does make complete sense. And I absolutely love the sector around career development because you spend so long at work. You spend so much of your time at work and you need to make that valuable, stretching, enjoyable, fun and rewarding. It started off when I bought the business as a resume writing service and that literally was it. So resumes, cover letters and LinkedIn profiles, and that really was it. So when I first took over the business, I did the sales calls, I listened to clients, and I realised that actually there was a gap in what they needed. What people and often what people need and what they want is two different things. So there's a famous quote by Henry Ford, who said that if I'd asked my clients what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So it's about what people need rather than what people want. And so that was the way that I developed the product suite. So what I didn't realize is that just doing the resume, there's no support around that. So yeah, when I bought Résumé Pilots, I listened to what people wanted and then also figured out what I believed they needed. And so from there, I looked at interview coaching, career coaching, and also some digital products, because that was a lower price point and that enabled me to then grow a succession plan, if you like, a pipeline of future clients, because the work that we do is predominantly in the C-suite. It's executives that have got 20-25 years working experience. It's people who are senior in their sectors, so people who are either aspiring to get into the C-suite or already in the C-suite. But I recognised that there was a cohort of people underneath that, more junior, who still needed support and help. So I created digital products, partly to support them and then partly also to grow my client pipeline for the future.
Okay, great. That expansion from just writing resume to offering one-to-one coaching and strategy just shows a real understanding of the market. So you're not just selling a document, you're selling a complete transformation. So now, on our last call, you mentioned that your core clientele is 40 to 55-year-old professional, often with 20 plus years of experience, aiming for already in the C-suite. This is the topic you were most passionate about discussing. So why are these experienced professionals struggling in the current market, and what role does ageism play?
So I'm seeing so much of this on LinkedIn at the moment. It's a really, really big, hot topic. But I think what's happening at the moment is it's the perfect storm. So we are seeing at the moment the toughest job market in at least a decade, and that's research that's come out from KPMG. So for my particular cohort, the Gen X cohort of 40 to 55, it's the toughest market that they've seen in their working lifetime. So we've got the combination of the perfect storm of AI, change in hiring expectations, and the fact that experience in how things were done, which was always their advantage, always their comfort and what set them apart, and where the value came from because the people were buying experience, that now is seen as experience in how things used to be done rather than how they are done now. And so what people are finding is that that experience actually is working against them. As a general rule, and forgive me for upsetting anybody who says I'm in that bracket and I'm very digitally savvy, but as a general rule, we're not
Yeah.
digital natives. So all of this AI, and let's face it, AI has only really been visible, usable, and unavoidable in the workplace since about 2022,
Yeah.
21, 22. And
Yeah.
so it's causing an issue with not just the confidence of 40 to 55-year-olds in how to use these tools and how to deploy them to create optimization, but it's also having a shift in expectation from the people who are already in those businesses, who are hiring, who are viewing that older person as being slower and perhaps not as digitally savvy as they feel they might need.
Yeah. Okay.
Interestingly, though, when you're doing transformation, these AI tools are tools. They're not the new thing. They are the tools in order to deliver that optimization, in order to deliver that transformation. And that's where these people have got that experience, which sits in the context of having gone through various economic cycles, having gone through political issues, social and environmental priorities, different governments. We've gone through all of this. And so what we're saying now is that we have the experience and the context to apply the new tools to something that we've been doing for a long time. So that's where I think that the perfect storm is upon us. It's not helping individuals because of the confidence. Are you confident in talking about AI? Are you confident about using it? I think some businesses are wary of taking on people in key roles if they don't have these AI skills, because what they're thinking is that this person's going to be slower to impact. We need to bring somebody in who can deliver impact immediately. And they are viewing, sometimes correctly, mostly incorrectly, that person, because they don't understand AI, will be slower to settle in, slower to impact. And I don't think that's true. There needs to be a shift as well from the individual's perspective. People aren't buying your experience anymore. They're not buying your tenure. What they're buying is evidence of impact, adaptability, and the speed of delivery, the speed of results. So I think it's partly that companies are viewing older people as not having the AI skills that they're looking for, coupled with actually the shift for individuals is that they need to start positioning themselves. Instead of I've got this experience, is here's my impact, here's my evidence, here's my adaptability, and here's how I deliver at speed. Because I think AI is being viewed as a bit of a proxy for
Yeah.
future readiness in hiring decisions. Actually, a lot of companies are unclear and they're perhaps inconsistent around what the definition of AI skills even is.
Of course. Yeah.
So ageism, I think, is showing up as culture fit, energy, growth mindset. Older people don't have the cultural fit, the energy, and the growth mindset that they're looking for. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's true. I think that's actually very untrue. But there's a bias that companies need to understand, that older people bring this wealth of experience, whilst also for the individuals, they need to understand that they need to repackage their value.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a powerful point. The very experience that should be in their advantages now sometimes working against them.
Absolutely.
So you brought up the idea that while this generation might not be digital natives, they bring invaluable context. They know what happens when you pull the lever in a business. How are you advising these experienced professionals to reposition their decades of context and transformation skills so that they are seen as an asset and not a liability in the market obsessed with new tech?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, the thing that I tell people is it's not about what you did. Nobody cares what you did. What they care about is the impact that that had. They want to understand what the impact is of anything that you did. What was the impact? And then most importantly, and this is the really important shift for people to understand, is the hiring expectation is you've had these great results in the past. Can you replicate those results for me under my constraints with my product, my market, my staff, all those things? So it's really important that people translate their experience into outcomes. It's not about your tenure. It's not about your number of years experience. All of that is important and all of that is valuable. But what you need to do is start now to position it is in terms of outcomes, evidence, speed of impact. If you can reframe those past transformations in terms of speed, scale, risk managed, and position those tools or AI as tools that they lead with rather than compete against, that's going to be the key. I think it's really important for them to demonstrate AI adjacency through things like how you commission them, what the governance is around them. What if we talked about levers just a second ago? The worry is if you pull this lever, what happens over here? About critical questioning. So this is the value that they bring in terms of the context. We've gone through all these different iterations of all sorts of different things in our career. And what we've been able to do is spot patterns. We have pattern recognition and we can spot unintended consequences. And all of that is really, really important for a business, but it's not sexy. It doesn't sound exciting.
Yeah.
I think it's important to quantify decision making and how you go about your decision making in terms of data driven outcomes. I think that's a really key differentiation. And I think if people can emphasize their judgment, ethics, because that's
Yeah.
important. If we've got something that's machine learning, where's the personalization? Where's the ethics? Where's the accountability in these AI enabled environments? It's about signaling curiosity, coachability. Just because I don't know how to program a website or code a website doesn't mean that I don't understand the context around it, but I'm curious and I'm coachable around how these tools really work. And then it's aligning experience to what's changing next rather than what's worked before. When you're repositioning yourself, it's not about being more, it's not about changing yourself anyway, it's not about changing yourself, but it is about changing the perception and the relevance of your experience. And that, I think, is the crux of what I talk to my clients about. You've got this great raw material, but now you just need to position it in a different way.
Okay, great. That's some really good insight. Let's shift to your business now. So you've built a premium personalized service, one-to-one coaching, customized writing. Yet you also mentioned that your biggest challenge is finding the balance between using new AI tools and maintaining that high touch personalized brand. How do you navigate the fear that using AI will dilute the human element your clients are paying premium for?
Yes, so I wouldn't say this is a daily concern, but it is something that I'm very conscious of. So that 40 to 50-year-old age bracket who are either in the C-suite or aspiring to get into the C-suite, or perhaps through redundancy are looking to get back into the C-suite,
Yeah.
they've spent the last 20 to 30 years working really hard to get to the top of their tree. So they look for and are used to a premium customer experience, and they're prepared to pay for that. And I'm not just talking about work, but by the time you get to a certain age, you want to go to a really nice restaurant. You want to go to, you might want to travel business class because you want the nice things in life and you've got the money to pay for that.
Hmm.
So yeah, they're looking for that customer experience, they're looking for that connection, and they're prepared to pay for it. So in a world where really AI has only been mainstream for a few years now, in the grand
Yeah.
scheme of things, they are a cohort who are actively searching for that personal touch, that connection. And the quality of the experience is really important to them, coupled with the outcome. They are prepared to pay for a solid outcome. They want speed, they want results, they're looking for expertise, they're looking for quality bundled in a personalized way. And I don't think that you get that with a volume business that outsources to AI. So that's my view, certainly in terms of the writing services and the coaching.
Yeah.
However, and this is where I think it becomes really interesting, given that they want high quality, they also want speed and they want results, AI can be used to streamline those processes, because if I can get an instant response to somebody, even if it's an automated response, it's an instant response. They like that. So updates can be automated. Desk research can be internet based. A lot of my marketing now is automated. But the main customer service touch points, the main touch points for me need to remain really personal and a really high quality experience. So that's the balance for me. And I am using an AI powered CRM system, which is great for updates. It's great for marketing. It's great for really secure customer data storage. But my sales calls are still one to one. The writing services are still one to one. Coaching is a mix of individual and group, all using Zoom, all they have access to me, have access to their writers, access to the coaches. There is a real connection. People can see me, they can ask questions, they can connect. And that's where the service is differentiated.
Okay. And you also mentioned that you're looking to scale to 500K this year. When you look at your current operations, like lead generation, client onboarding, and service delivery, where do you see the most time currently being wasted on repetitive tasks that you should automate, but you haven't had the time to implement yet?
There are back office processes that I think are repetitive, and those back office systems, they're still not as automated as I would like, but there is automation there. It is definitely an area that I need to develop. Things like there are AI sales calls, there's AI videos, but I don't think that those are right for my target audience, because although they do value efficiency, they also more highly value that personalized service, and that's what
Cool.
they're prepared to pay for.
Okay, great. And so let's talk about scaling. So you've already scaled your income over 1,100% in your career, and now you're aiming for half a million in revenue with resume pilots. Looking back at your journey from buying the business to expanding your offer, what is the single most important lesson you learned about scaling a service business that you would share with other professional coaches?
Yeah, so I think the lead generation is absolutely key, and it's getting the right quality leads. I think so that's a big part of it for me. Understanding your market by being close to them at the beginning. I think that's really important. Doing this, I have long said I don't want to do all of the sales calls, but it's been really important for me to do those sales calls to start with, because that now I understand what my clients, what they want, what I know they need, where that converges, and what they're prepared to pay for. I think it's really important to keep an eye on industry trends, because if you've got your ear close to the ground, you can surf that wave of that trend instead of being left behind by it. I probably don't use social media in the way that as well as I should. So I think for me, one of the lessons has been around learning or using social media better.
Yeah,
It's about using AI internally, particularly for me. I think there are maybe other businesses that use it in a front facing way, but I prefer to keep the AI use predominantly
yeah.
internal. And then it's about optimizing systems and processes.
Okay, great. And you mentioned you've recently started paid ads and you want to increase your team to handle sales calls so you can focus on your strategy. How are you approaching this transition from being the primary salesperson to building a predictable sales infrastructure?
Yes, so where I'm doing the sales calls at the moment, I'm recording them. so that I can build training materials for that future sales team. I'm building an FAQ system so that I document all of the questions that are being asked by the clients, and then I can build a knowledge bank that helps with marketing, but it also helps with the sales team. I'm writing my standard operating procedures and making sure that everything that we do is documented and so it can be consistent. I am investigating AI tools that can streamline the sales calls and some client interaction, but it's very, very early days yet, and I'm not sure that I'm quite ready to delve too deep into that.
Yeah.
I have written clear job descriptions and sets of expectations for anybody that I do bring onto the sales team. And I have initially created the outline of a sales compensation package, which would keep them consistent and motivated. But that I need to start speaking to teams and to find out how I formally shape that going forward. But I put together what I think is the bare bones of that. And the aim of that is consistency and motivation.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, Zoe, this has been incredibly insightful. So you've given our listeners a lot to think about, from the value of experience to challenge of scaling a high touch service. So thank you for sharing your expertise. Before we wrap up, where can listeners go to find out more about your work?
So we have in the US, we have the website resumepilots.com, and in the UK we have cvpilots.co.uk. We have one central email, which is team@resumepilots.com, and you can contact us there. We are also on LinkedIn. My own profile, CV Pilots, has a profile, and Resume Pilots has a profile as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.
Thank you.